Caitriona, I thought about lying to you in this interview
Okay.
because I know that if I ask you anything about Outlander, it's what is going to be the most watched moment of the whole interview, at least in my section of the internet. But I haven't watched Outlander.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay. But my question then is...
I thought you were going to say, but my mom has.
She probably has. My mom watches so much more TV than I do, if I'm honest. But my question is, have you ever sat across from somebody who's interviewing you and they're asking you about something and you can just tell they don't know what they're asking you about?
Oh, for sure.
What happens in that moment?
You just let them away with it. There's too many things to watch. I don't know. Yeah, I never expect anyone to like, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I sat across from the cast of Star Trek at Comic-Con and I tried. And they called me, they're like, you didn't watch Star Trek, did you? I'm so sorry, I have 14 interviews today. No, but The Amateur, you're awesome in it. It's hard to talk about.
Have you seen The Amateur?
I have seen The Amateur.
Good.
I came all the way to New York City just to see it.
Awesome.
No, but I thought it was awesome. I thought your role in it was awesome. And I'm also like, how do we talk about your role without giving anything away?
It's hard to.
It is.
As I've discovered over the past week.
I do have a question because the title of the movie, The Amateur, implies somebody doing something they're not quite ready to do yet. They're not a professional at it. Rami's character is the one doing that in this movie. But in your life, have you ever had a moment, whether it's a scene or a role, that stands out to you as you just had to, for the sake of the amateur, pull the trigger and do it?
Oh my gosh, I feel like it happens all the time as an actor. When I first joined that show that you never watched, I may have said that I was quite a proficient horse rider, which I really wasn't. So there was a lot of amateur horse riding in the very beginning, and like I had to get up to speed very quickly.
How long does that take to learn how to be a horse rider?
Luckily, TV horses are very accommodating.
Okay.
It's when you get on any other horse that hasn't had a career in TV is when it really shows up. But it took me maybe a few days, I'm going to say.
Was there anything in The Amateur that stood out as like the daunting moment where you're like, oh, how am I going to pull this part off?
Well, I had to drive. I seem to have a thing with driving. I seem to have to drive quite frequently in my work. And I can drive. I'm a brilliant driver. But there's a lot of different sides of the road. And then there was like a lot of different people. Like there was some Americans there and some British people. And I had to exit a garage or a garage. And I went the right way the first time. And then they were like, oh, you went the wrong way. And I was like, oh, it's the wrong way. And then, of course, it wasn't. But then the next time I did go the wrong way. So it was just very confusing.
And did I hear a new accent in this movie? This wasn't your authentic accent.
No, I am not Russian.
Yeah, so I was going to say, going from your accent to Russian, that's another thing you probably have to learn to play Inquiline. What was that coaching like to learn how to play?
It was fun. I mean, I love doing accents. I have pretty much done an accent in every single job I've ever had. It's the kind of thing you're like, yeah, of course I can do Russian. Of course I can. And then you put down the phone and you're like, oh God, I have to do Russian. But it was great. We had a fantastic dialect coach. And then I sort of found a real life person who was sort of my template. This woman, Nadia Tolokonnikova, who's a Russian activist. And in many ways, she was like a really good sort of model for Inquiline.
I just picture Russian as just like angry all the time. But you're not at all.
No, it's quite it's a very beautiful and it's a very, there's a certain poetry to their accent. And there is kind of a seriousness, but I think, yeah, it's nice finding the kind of life within it.
That's awesome. Yeah, you did a great job with it.
Thank you.
And talking about the seriousness of the accent, the film, the tone of this movie, I imagine when you're on set, it does get serious, but there's got to be some fun bloopers, whether it's the car scene or some of the other stuff. What would a blooper reel on The Amateur look like if we were able to see one ever?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I think, Rami and I probably, there was an awful lot of technical looking at screens and not all of the graphics were available. So you're sort of like trying to imagine what the stuff is and both supposedly looking at things at the same time. And I think it took a few takes for us to get into sync. But yeah, it was just so much fun.
Well, it was awesome to watch. So thank you so much for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.